Sword in Sunbreak is absolutely ridiculously good. Like, when you have a weapon that can walk up to a monster at the start of the hunt, counter its raw, clobber it in the face for thousands of damage, which, as you might understand, let's say, annoys it. It then yells at you angrily. You counter that too, and hit it in the face again for thousands of damage. The hunt's been going on for about 5 seconds, and look what you've done! God damn! My fellow wielders of the best, biggest weapon, we are in for a treat of a Monster Hunter game. But before I get ahead of myself, hello there and welcome. Today I bring you my favorite thing to do every time a new Monster Hunter game rears its head before we goddamn cut it off. Sorry. It's time for the ultimate greatsword guide a la Sunbreak. From me, who has been playing greatsword since Monster Hunter 1, I have, well, beyond thousands of hours in it, and have played greatsword in Sunbreak specifically for nearly 100 hours now, so I would like to think I somewhat know what I'm about to say, but of course I'm no speedrunner. The theory, however, is solid. Though that said, I won't be going over the basics of the weapon. They remain largely unchanged from base Rise, and the guide I made then still holds up. I will link it down below if you want a 101 primer to greatsword as a whole. Today we will focus on what Sunbreak has done, apart from, you know, make us gods. The 3 new switch skills, the fundamental tweaks to the base weapon's moveset, and armor skills that are now good for us, and armor skills that are now bad for us because there has been quite the change in that department. So without further ado, let's get into this. Greatsword itself then has had quite a few buffs when it comes to the base effectiveness of the weapon. Now, you can have a little read of them on screen, but the ones really of note is the buff to Strong Wide Slash. This is the attack that you can do after landing from an aerial attack, the big sweep that then afterwards you can go into True Charge or Rage Slash. This actually getting some power is really effective, because it means that when you down a monster and you're a bit far enough away, you can wirebug aerially over it, land that triple hit on its head, do the sweep on its head, and then go into your big hit, and that suddenly is no longer a damage loss compared to sheathing, running to the head, and starting your combo as normal. So that's kinda cool and increases the pace of the weapon. Everything else is just kinda nice. I mean, True Charge and Rage Slash getting a buff is always welcome, but the main change here is Hunting Edge, a base game switch skill that used to cost 2 wirebugs, now costs 1. Launch off the monster, bounce off it, and then either do a usual aerial attack or a multi-hitting stab downwards variant. This was utterly, absolutely hot garbage in base Rise, especially when it was competing with Adamant Slash, one of the best moves in the greatsword arsenal. Now that it has been buffed, it recovers more quickly, it costs less wirebug. You can now, after landing, go into your strong wide sweep and then go into your True Charge or Rage Slash, and all of this comes together to keep it being absolutely hot garbage never used here. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot better, but not only is it competing with Adamant Slash, it is now competing with the single best move that greatsword has ever gotten, probably in the history of Monster Hunter. So, yeah. And it is with that move that we are going to start today. Strong Arm Stance. Now, of course, a lot of testing goes into these guides, and it would mean the world to me if you guys, well, if you like it, of course, but do True Charge that like button, and of course, subscribe and hit the bell to not miss future greatsword and Sunbreak goodness in general. Goodless? Goodless! As we will be your hub for everything you could hope to want to know about this glorious game. For now, this is spectacular. So it is competing with Adamant Slash and Hunting Edge. Hunting Edge is, okay, that's fine. Adamant Slash is going to be sad to lose, as it was very good. But, make no mistake, in both your scrolls, not that Greatsword really needs to scroll swap, but we'll get to that, you want Strongarm stance. So, you use it and it costs 2 wire bugs. You hold your weapon out in front of you, and you can full 360 reposition this, but you will only counter attacks from the direction that you're facing. So that is certainly something to keep in mind when it comes to your positioning and timing. And make no mistake, Greatsword and positioning and timing have never been closer bedfellows. Like, damn, they straight cuddling. That sounded cooler in my head, okay? So, you are holding the weapon out in front of you, and from the second, the millisecond, the instant you press the input to Strongarm, you can counter something. You don't need to complete the holding it in front of you and start glowing animation. That is simply flavor. So you can counter something on a moment's notice as a reaction. You will then hold the weapon out in front of you for 2 seconds. That is your window, which is a very, very generous window. If any monster attack strikes you from the direction you're facing in those 2 seconds, you will counter it. But we're not talking some pansy longsword counter where it's like, ooh, I don't want to take damage. No! Greatsword is for those with a goddamn backbone of iron. Because we still get hurt, alright? It still hurts. It is a massive amount of damage reduction, however, sitting pretty at near as, damn it, 75%. So fear not when death comes for you if your arms are strong. After you have then countered, well then, there is one of 2 things that can happen. The first thing is, if you weren't charging already when you activated the counter, you will do an enhanced version of the first charged attack in the full charged combo. How enhanced? Well, a sweet plus 25% damage. And that damage amp is actually different if you are mid-charge when you counter, which, when that happens, you will skip straight into the final hit of your combo, either Rage Slash or True Charge Slash. Those 2 will then be boosted by 35%. And you do instantly go into them. You don't have to hold it, you can immediately counter and let the attack fly and receive the full benefit. It is at this point I should not have to stress or really hammer home how effective it is to be able to counter a monster attack and then so quickly return with a 35% boosted version of Greatsword's most powerful move in True Charge Slash. It is ludicrous, and it is for this reason that basically True Charge Slash is back on the menu, boys! Which is a bittersweet pill to swallow, because don't get me wrong, I love Rage Slash, but in a world of having a counter like this, that covers the Rage Slash's ability to get you extra hits in by tanking attacks, but then a more powerful True Charge, well, it returns something fierce. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're still using Rage Slash and you go into a powered-up Rage Slash after countering, and then the monster hits you, and you get another power-up from that, yeah, you're still going to be hitting like an absolute freight train, but just not quite as hard as True Charge, and I cannot stress enough how, with a little bit of learning each monster, easy it is to land True Charge after True Charge from well-placed counters, and it feels so satisfying to pull off. Like, I cannot, like, oh my, the amount of tissues I have gone through playing through Sunbreak! I fucking love you, Greatsword.
I know you do. And I will always love you too.
God, I don't even care that I'm talking to a weapon in a video game.
Why would you care? I'm incredible.
Wait, could you guys see that? Sorry, you know, these things happen. Oh, and it is because of Strongarm being so good that I will, well, spoil it for you now. Our best switch kill setup for Sunbreak is normal tackle, True Charge Slash, the Charge Slash combo, so that we can walk up to a monster, start doing said charged combo, and then counter into True Charge, Strong Arm Stance, and Power Sheath. Well, that's not entirely fair. If you want to be really adventurous, have one of your scrolls set like this, and then the other one set with Adamant Slash, so when you down the monster, you can switch to that one, Adamant over to it, and then get a True Charge before going back into your Strong Arm set to keep fighting it. So, you know, real advanced tactics coming out here, but certainly worth having set up if you want to properly, which you might notice completely disregards the other two new switch skills, and that is a shame. We'll get to why, but for now, a few more little tidbits on Strong Arm. First and foremost, it's got a 10-second cooldown. That goes to about 8 seconds with Wirebug Whisperer level 3, which is now one of the required most important skills for Greatsword after your general damage skills, because you want to be strong arming as often as physically possible. That said, most of the value of Wirebug Whisperer is from the first rank, where you get to keep the third Wirebug for 30% longer, so you can get away with not using the other two ranks, which does free you up 2 more spaces, unlike Focus, where you basically go all of it or nothing, so that's worth taking into account too. Alright, you are going to get excited deeply whenever you see a monster start its roar animation, because that to you is a golden invitation to clobber it for colossal amounts of free damage. Honestly, it's a problem. Whenever now I hear a loud animal noise, I get unreasonably into it. And just to really hammer home how good Strong Arm Stance just is, this is me in the best Greatsword build, which I'll be bringing you a video on very soon, if not already up by the time you're watching this. You walk up to the monster, and look, this is literally the first 30 seconds of the hunt, and I have done 10,000 damage to this Basil. 1 raw counter, 1 enraged raw counter, and then smacking him while he's down in the Wirebug. So, like, yeah, after this he went to sleep and I did another 8,000 damage hit, because why the hell not? It's actually ludicrous and is just unbelievably fun to play. And indeed, as Greatsword players, we should be turning the setting off that makes damage auto-trigger Wyvern Rides and using every Wyvern Ride as an opportunity to do a free small barrel bomb, Strong Arm Stance, counter hit with True Charge, because the damage will always be worth more than the Wyvern Ride, so that's something to take into account. In any case, that is something very much to take note of. Wirebug Whisperer is very much up there as a skill we simply need. It also means that any consistent access to the third Wirebug, obviously the extra one in each zone, but also the Palico ability to summon endemic life and get you an extra one, becomes very, very important, and definitely worth literally using a Palico with that ability for, as it's a notable increase in Wirebug uptime, which is a notable increase in monster kill time. So, you may be wondering then, okay, so if the new optimum playstyle is charge counter hit with True Charge repeat, where does Focus come in? Because that's always been a core Greatsword skill. And ain't that the question? Focus, let me just tell you, is no longer required.
Long live the king.
Which, on one hand, is wonderful, because it frees up 3 ranks of slottage for other skills. However, Wirebug Whisperer now is required, so that 3 slottage of skills is instantly used up again. Basically, we have simply swapped Focus for Wirebug Whisperer when it comes to priority non-straight damage skills in our kit. Because we counter and then instantly go into the fast True Charge, well, Focus just doesn't have as much of an impact on your gameplay anymore as it did before. It used to be required. It used to be a huge damage increase from charge time increase, thus resulting in an uptime increase. Whereas now, the only time you'll be hard charging is for the True Charge on a downed monster, and a downed monster gives you enough time to get a True Charge, and even with Focus, you're not going to get more than that anyway, so yeah, it's a little bit weird, but because of the new Strong Arm Counter True Charge instant playstyle, we just don't need it. Don't get me wrong, it's still a nice luxury skill to have, but that's what it is now. Luxury if you truly have got all the damage that you want or need and still have spare space. So, one big tip with Strong Arm Stance is, well, it's our new Wake Up hit, it is our new Take Advantage of a Monster in the Wyvern Ride state hit, it is our new, kind of everything hit. Because we get that plus 35% damage, and we can so easily trigger it by simply standing there, placing a small barrel bomb on the floor, going into that charge, immediately countering, well, we can, on demand, without the monster's help, get that amped true charge. So on a sleeping monster, yeah, now we wake it up with a barrel bomb counter into a strong arm true charge. Even on a downed monster, sometimes you have enough time to do that. On a Wyvern Ride state monster, you have enough time to do that. It is a fantastic bit of utility, and carrying 10 small barrel bombs with you will now be a, well, essentially mandatory part of the Great Sword's kit if you're going to fully get everything you can out of playing this weapon. So, basically, that's kind of your intro into Strong Arm Stance. It is the new best way to play, and it's not even close. Our new damage output is silly with counter true charges. Oh, and lastly, don't be afraid to use Strong Arm as a way to just not take damage that you otherwise would, even if you're not in a position to actually go for or get the follow-up hit. It does have that defensive utility too. And we should also talk about another now very important skill when it comes to Strong Arm Stance, and thus a very important skill when it comes to Greatsword. Offensive Guard. It's finally happened, but not because of you, Guard Tackle!
Ooh, you suck!
Well, Strong Arm Stance does trigger Offensive Guard, which means it triggers plus 15% damage, which means this is one of the most valuable skills, if not the most valuable skill for just 3 ranks we could ask for. Now, you do have to be precise-ish. You do have to counter just before the monster would hit you instead of just holding it in front of you and letting it hit you like a second into the strong arm. So you're not always going to have this, but more often than not, you will trigger this just from generally strong arm without even trying to trigger it and then get a huge damage bump. So yeah, definitely consider looking into Offensive Guard because it seriously pops with strong arm and feels real good. Oh, and I should note as a warning with Strong Arm Stance, there are a certain few attacks that you cannot counter. Generally speaking, lasery-esque elemental attacks fall into that category, though you can counter a number of the lasers. But for an easy example, something like Astalos's big lightning horn isn't counterable. It is a multi-hit attack, and while you'll counter the first hit, the second will hurt you. So, yeah. And I will try and say this as vaguely unspoilery as possible, but the main explosion of the special monsters in the game also isn't counterable. That will make sense to you as soon as you get to it, and hopefully help you not do what I do loads of times, which is sit there in strong arm and get blasted in the face. And the thing is, because strong arm is the new best way to play, well, it eliminates the other 2 switch skills. It eliminates Backslide, which, if we go over real quick, costs 1 wire bug. It is competing with Power Sheath, which is already not great, as Power Sheath gives you a 10% damage buff, and you want it up at all times, which means you want it on. Like, it's simply not recreatable. It is the only thing you will be spending wire bugs on that isn't strong arm, because it's that potent of a buff. So Power Sheath in itself just eliminates it from contention, but also, what it does is reposition you in the middle of a charged combo and will take you to the next stage of the combo, which in a vacuum isn't a bad move, not at all. However, because we want to be strong-arming, we don't want to be wasting a wire bug on repositioning a true charge. We want to be using 2 wire bugs on countering the attack, not repositioning away from it, and then returning with the enhanced true charge. And it's also a little bit finicky in that you press the input for it, and you will essentially move in the opposite direction to where you're pointing your stick. but where you're pointing your stick dictates what direction you'll be facing. So if you use backslide while holding left, you will go right but then face left, which is certainly a little bit finicky to get used to. Though you're not going to have to get used to it because, again, any wire bug spent on backslide should be a wire bug spent on Strongarm, and if it's not spent on Strongarm, it should be spent on Power Sheath, either to reposition or maintain uptime on our free constant 10% damage buff. It's simply power crept by both our playstyle and Power Sheath, and is therefore not really worth too much of your time. One other little advantage to backslide though is it does come with some iframes. Pretty much the same iframes as Power Sheath. Basically, if you time it well at the very start, just before you get hit, you will pass through it and continue on your movement and be ready to return the attack. But the thing is, that doesn't really save it because Power Sheath comes with that utility too. It would have to be massive amounts of iframe to be worth using just for the I don't want to take damage now, please. There might be a few niche situations, but yeah, it's really not too exciting, which is a little bit sad. But not as sad as Surge/Combo, which is really, really good. In a vacuum, once again, and to use that phrasing, sadly, it is really, really good. So you know the generic Great Sword combo that we have had since Monster Hunter 1. The slap over the head, the spin around circle sweep, and the uppercut over your head backwards. Yeah, that basic combo with Surge/Equipped and Surge/competes with your power combo, so you lose the ability to do the draw level 3 charge into the level 3 strong charge, and very importantly with Surge/ lose the ability to tackle out of charges if you're going to get hit, or indeed to skip to the next level, and you lose the ability to tackle after a roll, and basically while it makes you harder to hit because you're attacking faster with less commitment attacks, it also makes you much easier to hit because you don't have the massive utility that Tackle's Hyper Armor brings, which is a real trade-off when comparing Surge/ with the Charge combo, so it's very much something to consider. You're also a lot more movey with Surge/. All of the attacks have a lot of distance that they cover, and you really have to be aware of that. It's a much more agile, less anchored playstyle, and that has its pros and cons. Gets replaced with an enhanced triple hit combo version of each of them. So we have a 3-hit combo down slash, we have a 3-hit combo spinning slash, we have a 3-hit combo uppercut. And each of them can be interchanged with each other at will, which is nice because each of them hit very different angles and go very different distances. So once you learn them all and mix and match them together, you can really allow for the monster's subtle positioning changes or falling over, etc., and go into the one that will hit it. That's nice. The most damaging of these 3 combos is the triple overhead one, in case you are wondering, and that's the one you should always be using if you're confident all 3 will hit the monster. As a playstyle, Surge/ is great. It's also not the worst for Element Greatsword, though Element Greatsword still isn't that good, and if it was going to be good, it would use the new skill Charge Master, which makes you do all more element damage while charging, which Surge/ isn't, so it kind of self-eliminates there. In any case, the damage it does is respectable. You will still use Strongarm stance with it, because countering in the middle of your Surge/ will take you into the level 3 combo, and an enhanced version of it too, as you might expect, and that's really neat. Look, don't get me wrong, the animations on this new combo is just sexy. It feels fun, it feels fast, it feels like you have a lot of options, and it's an entirely new, quick way to play Greatsword that we've never really had before, and the damage output is incredibly solid. It is, simply speaking, really good, and certainly would be worth giving up, well, your normal base charge combo for, if it wasn't for Strongarm stance. Because the best way to kill a monster now is counter an attack while charging and going to true charge. You need to be able to charge with the first step of your combo, which requires you to not have Surge/ equipped, and indeed have the charged combo equipped. Hence why we won't be using it in a min-maxed environment. But make no mistake, If you enjoy Surge / Combo, if you find it fun, if you find it satisfying, well then go ahead. You simply swap it out for the charge / combo and the rest of your scrolls remain the same, and you are in for a good time. And that said, Surge / does come with a few extra little neat features. The first of which is that after you do a level 3 Surge / combo, so the big one at the end, you can go into a strong charge, and this strong charge is sped up. It charges bum 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 done near instantly, and that is great because that really helps get your damage output and then progress into the final hit of your combo in either Rage / or True Charge. That sped up charge is another reason that Focus has very much been marginalized, along with Surge / itself gaining nothing from Focus because it's not a charged series of attacks. So yeah, very much Focus is, as I said, big luxury. Then we have the fact that Surge / lets us target very specific parts of the monster, because we have the low to the ground spin, we have the spike up uppercut, we have the advancing downwards. You can really be precise with how you go about combating it, which is kind of nice for part breaking. As little of an advantage as that is, it still is one. The bottom line here is that Surge / is excellent. It really is excellent. If you didn't have Strongarm stance, the damage you do with Surge / would genuinely outpace the damage that you do with the charged combo. But because we do have Strongarm, and because of how brutally effective that is with True Charge, well, Surge / ends up being put on the back burner and left to the realm of I'm using it because it's fun and I prefer it, or the realm of niche gimmick builds that might abuse the fast-hitting nature of it. I personally love Surge / I've played with it a lot, and you will see it a lot in the Pro and Noob playthrough, for example. But I am here to give you a guide to Greatsword, and ultimately, the best way to play Greatsword in Sunbreak is this switch skill setup, and to walk up to a monster, to start charging your combo, to counter it, and to hit it with an enhanced True Charge as many times as you can throughout the hunt. So basically, Strongarm and True Charge are the twin kings of Master Rank hunting for us for a long time, unless anything majorly changes in the title updates. Now, because Strongarm does do a little bit of damage to you when you counter an attack, you get red health. So much like Rage / Resentment as a skill is very much a golden skill for us now, as plus 25 True Raw on every, well, enhanced True Charge is nothing to sniff at. Also, one of the best skills for Greatsword is a skill from the final boss, and while I won't spoil it specifically, it basically gives us plus 35 raw for staying on blue scroll. And because we don't need to switch skill swap, there's nothing on the other scroll we want. Everything we need for our most effective playstyle is on blue scroll. We gain nothing by hopping over to orange and changing our loadout. We will just be camping blue scroll and getting that plus 35 raw to all of our hits, which is ludicrously good. So that's kind of the overarching long and short of it. That is the style of play for maximum POW. Now, of course, as always, Monster Hunter is about having fun, so use whatever scratches that itch for you. For me, I'm not too upset at this being the way, as getting a good counter and then returning with that ridiculous damage is one of the most Greatsword things going, and truly, unbelievably satisfying to pull off back to back to back. And so, there you have it. I hope this has helped you understand our free new Switch skills. I hope it's helped you understand what's best in the most technical, mathematical sense, and a general idea of the playstyle you're going for in Sunbreak. I will, of course, be releasing the best Greatsword actual build set very, very soon, so look out for that. And until then, well, happy, glorious strong arm hunting, my fellow big sword whackers. Like if you have enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of this channel on Patreon down below. And until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.